For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us so we can do the good things He planned for us long ago. In other words, His plans were for us to do certain good works, and He planned this long ago. There are people that you could reach that I could never really reach. There are people that I could reach that others wouldn't be able to reach. And God has done it in this way because God has set a purpose for each and every one of us. God separates light from darkness. Why? Because they serve two different purposes. God separates the waters from the land. Why? Because they each serve different purposes. God creates the birds, their purpose to fly. God creates the fish, their purpose to swim. God creates man, his purpose to rule. God has created you with a purpose.
You may have failed, but you are not a failure. That was a moment in your life. That was one season. It doesn't determine your future. Don't let that mistake define who you are. If you go around wearing negative labels, divorced, addicted, failed, compromised, it will keep you from the fullness of what God has in store.
Everywhere you go, people are more focused on doing the big things in life. Why earn just 6 figures when you could become a millionaire? So no matter what it is that you're trying to go for, stop focusing on the big stuff and focusing on what is the tiny daily discipline I have to do? What is the little thing? Rather than what is that big overwhelming goal? What is the true daily ritual that is so small and so easy you can do it every day?
The most selfish thing you can do in this world is help someone else. Why is it selfish? Because the gratification, the goodness that comes to you, the good feeling that I get from helping others, nothing's better than that. Nothing's better than that. Not jewelry, not big house I have, not the cars, but it's the joy. That's where the joy is, in helping others. That's where the success is, in helping others. When you wake up in the morning, you have to get on your knees, say thank you for grace. Thank you for mercy. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for wisdom. Thank you for parents. Thank you for love. Thank you for kindness. Thank you for humility. Thank you for peace. Thank you for prosperity. Say thank you in advance for what's already yours. It's how I live my life. That's why I am, one of the reasons why I am today. Say thank you in advance for what is already yours.
Let me tell you something about God. He already knows. Somebody shout to heaven, you already know. God said, I know the plans I have for you, and they are plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future. I knew you would be in this deficit. I knew you would feel like this. I knew you would struggle with it. I knew it would be hard for you. I knew you would be going it alone. I knew you'd be raising those kids. I knew you would carry it, and I wouldn't put you in it if I didn't put it in you. You got it.
The moment that most people give up is the moment of the greatest opportunity. Everything you want is on the other side of not giving up. And I promise you, when God puts a dream in your heart, the nightmare will come. What is the nightmare? It's the pathway to your destiny. You cannot get to the dream without the nightmare and the pathway of the nightmare, because it purifies you. It purifies your motives. The nightmare is the enemy trying to steal that dream and get you to give up. The question is, can God trust you with trouble? Because the moment that the enemy senses you have a God-given dream, he will try to send the opposite and cause a nightmare. And if God can put you in trouble, it's a vote of heaven's confidence in you. Trouble and the nightmare is a vote of heaven's confidence in you. Your trouble is your pathway to triumph. Your pain is your pathway to a higher praise. Your mess is a pathway to the miraculous things of God in your life.
Your brain is divided into two halves, positive and negative, good and evil. It don't function on nothing else. Ain't no neutral ground in your brain. It's either positive and good or negative and evil. Each half of your brain has millions of factory workers on each side. You got 1 million factory workers on the positive side. You got 1 million factory workers on the negative side. At the forefront of each one of those factories in your brain is a foreman. You got foreman positive and you got foreman negative. You are in charge. You're the boss of the factory. You have got to change the way you think. It is the whole determining factor of where you go in life. We are all where we are today because we thought ourselves to this position. If you don't like the position, think yourself out of it. Change your attitude, you change your altitude.
Sometimes we want to look at the very end result and we want to see how in the world we'll ever get there. But God is just saying, look at today. My grace is sufficient for today. Everything you need is here today. I think the trouble we get into is we start working on tomorrow's grace today. We say, but what about tomorrow, God? When God is saying, don't worry about tomorrow, just work on today. I got tomorrow handled. You know, and then when we start doing these kind of things, we start questioning ourselves. Then we start having these doubts and we have fears and maybe I'm not enough, maybe I'm not adequate, maybe I don't have what it takes. And then we start going down the wrong road. But God said, before the foundation of the world, He already knew you. And He's already equipped you to do whatever He's going to call you to do.
True desire in the heart, that itch that you have, whatever it is you want to do, that thing that you want to do to help others and to grow and to make money, that desire, that itch, that's God's proof to you, sent beforehand already to indicate that it's yours. And anything you want good, you can have. So claim it. Work hard to get it. When you get it, reach back. Pull someone else up. Each one, teach one. Don't just aspire to make a living. Aspire to make a difference.
God has been speaking to me lately that the deepest things He will do in my life start shallow. But God can do a deep thing with a shallow start. You do not think your way out of the flow of fear, failure, and frustration by thinking deeper about it. It broke the flow when they did something different. I'm gonna have to talk to people different. I'm gonna have to manage my thought life different. I'm gonna have to manage my time different. I'm gonna have to manage my money different. And we hear the truth and we still won't tithe.
To just about everybody, being in bed in the morning feels good.
Yeah.
It's warm, you're tired. Hitting the snooze button is a very real temptation that everybody can relate to. So instead of hitting the snooze button, just get up and get out of bed. That's it. And that disciplined decision, next thing you know, you're in the gym, you're working out. And that disciplined decision, next thing you know, when it comes to breakfast, instead of eating donuts, instead of eating those things, you're eating a piece of beef jerky, you're having a cup of tea, or you're just drinking a glass of water and doing an intermittent fast. And then when you get done with that, now you sit down to work and you're feeling like you're on the right path. And so you say, you know what, I'm gonna knock this stuff out. So then you start working and you work harder.
See, if you know what your life work is, I encourage you to start working on it. If you can't do it all at one time, do just a little bit of it. And if you don't know what it is that you showed up to do, if you don't know why you're here, I encourage you to find out what your purpose is here. What is the meaning of your life? What will be different? Have you ever asked yourself that question? I've done that. I remember coming from a friend of mine's funeral and I was reflecting on how much time I had left. And I went for a walk in a park thinking about this guy whose life was so promising. And I mean, he wasn't an old guy. He was quite young, in fact. And I thought about all of the things that he said he was going to do, and he never got a chance to do those things. I say to you that if you begin to take a conscious effort to find out what it is that you're supposed to do, I say that it can literally save your life.
Think about the fact that God's thoughts toward you can't even be numbered. God's thoughts toward each and every believer cannot be numbered. And if God's thoughts toward each and every believer cannot be numbered, surely there are certain thoughts that are unique to certain believers. And if those thoughts are unique, it means there are different ways that God communicates with that believer. And there are different purposes that God has assigned that believer to. So, in principle, all of us have calls that are unique. In principle, we see that God assigns different tasks to different people. And He gave some apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors and teachers, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. Now you may say, what if I'm not one of those? What if I'm not a pastor, a teacher, prophet, evangelist, or an apostle? Well, again, the takeaway principle here is that God has in fact selected certain things for certain people for unique situations.